Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy David, and I'm back with another episode of the Free Play Mode Quick Hit. It is July 1st, 2016, and I am joined by the CEO and founder of Tough Nerd Toys, none other than Dene Shogeke. What's going on, Dene?
Hey, what's going on, Aaron? Always a pleasure to be on your wonderful show, brother.
All right, all right. And today, some major software dropped, and I am talking about none other than the much anticipated story mode and July update for Street Fighter V. And the story mode update and July update includes what people have been waiting for since the game launched in February, and that is a complete story mode. And two new characters were updated because one wasn't added last month, and they added Ibuki and Balrog. So I'm not gonna dance around the subject. What did you think of the story mode? I played it all the way through. You played it all the way through. I'm gonna warn our listeners now that there will be spoilers. So if you don't want the story mode spoiled for you, please turn off this podcast. Go watch something else. Go play it, actually. But now that that has been said, what are your impressions of the story mode? Was it worth the 4 month wait that we had to go through?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it was worth the 4 month wait, but the storyline was good. But at the same token, I'm torn because of the simple fact that this is something that should have been included within the game when you first purchased it. And again, I'm not one to live in the past, or I understand people make mistakes, but Capcom has a history of like pretty much like giving the customer the old ramrod, or just like, you'll get it when we get it to you. Like they're a shadow of them of their former self. But I must say this story mode was actually very, very good. It started out a little bit like I was like, this is going to be horrible. But then, I mean, as it went along, I was like, okay, not bad. I wouldn't say as good as Mortal Kombat storyline or Mortal Kombat X's storyline, but it was good. It was good.
Like, I see what they were trying to accomplish, and there were some facets of the story mode that did impress me, but overall, I have to disagree with you. I didn't like the story mode, and I thought it would have been better served by an actual arcade mode where you did the standard fight, 7 or 8 guys, then a boss, and then you get an ending with each individual character. I would have rather that have happened rather than the story mode, because a lot of it really didn't make sense to me. Like, it was
Yeah.
just jumping all over the place. I did like that they had you fighting the Shadowloo dolls and everything. I thought that was pretty cool, and each of them had their own individual move sets, and I thought that was pretty cool. But then they had you fighting random Shadowloo guys and random police guys, and I was like, come
Yeah,
on, really?
when they did the police thing, I was just like, "What?"
They,
I started laughing, and I was at that, and I was like, I was trying to hold my laughter, and I said, "Really, be cop?" Like, I was
not
like,
not
"Come
even a
on,
young
Capcom, you
cop
got to
beat.
do better than that."
It wasn't even a young cop. They had Laura beat up an old cop. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I, I don't know. I don't know what that was. I hope they don't make that a playable character.
And I felt like a lot of the story was just shoehorned in there. Like, characters were kind of shoehorned in there. Like Alex, you only got to play as Alex one time throughout the entire story, and I was like, okay, why? They didn't explain. First, they had you going after these mystery pieces, and they sort of explain what they do, but it's like, okay, why did these certain people end up with them? What was the purpose of that? And especially as somebody as random as Alex, he's like, okay, why did Alex end up with one of these pieces? They don't explain why the characters ended up with these pieces. And then it's like, okay, let's team up together and find out what's going on. It's like, okay, why would Ken Ryu be teaming up with Guile, Chun Li, and Karen, and Ibuki, and Armika, and Zangief? I'm like, that really doesn't make any kind of sense to me.
Yeah, but you know what they were trying to do? They was trying to add a little cohesiveness to the story. As you know, all Fighter lore and the mythos of Street Fighter has never been linear, or never been to the point where it holds a solidified, or it's in a good continuum. At least they tried to take over from where Street Fighter 4 ended in certain aspects. Because I guess the guy, again, well, okay, so we are doing spoilers here. So the guy that, remember he was a child when Balrog grabbed him up and just took him away with him? So I guess the
Yeah.
young guy with the Shadaloo symbol in his hand is that little boy what's his name? That Balrog took away with him when he was leaving.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like the way Street Fighter's story has been explained has always been through like the arcade mode where okay, you fight a certain amount of people, then you fight like a mid rival type
Right,
deal, and you
right.
get a little bit of story then, and then you fight the boss. And starting with I think it was Street Fighter Alpha 1, the bosses were individualized. Not everybody faced M Bison at the end.
Right, right.
So like everybody's motivations for doing what they were doing were very different. Like and but they kind of meshed them together. Like the Nikali thing. There's like okay, Nikali shows up when there's great peril in the world, but he just shows up, growls at people like the power, and then fights them, and then gets his ass whipped and disappears. I'm like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
like yeah, there was a lot of whole. Put it like this. I mean, again, I'm very upset with Capcom. Like Capcom no longer holds any validity when it comes to like gaming or when it comes in terms of me like purchasing a game. I don't look at Capcom as anything quality anymore because I remember a time, and again, not getting off topic, but I remember a time when you bought a Capcom game, the replay value was almost endless, and the options and characters and little Easter eggs and bells and whistles that they gave you. You were sometimes playing that game for like 3 years later because you would always find out a little Easter egg here, a little hidden character here, this, that, and the other. We're like this. Oh, and this was just horrible. Oh, and what I wanted to mention to you is that for the PS versions, there was a lot of complications in grabbing the what do you call that? The general story mode. You had to search inside of the PS store, the PS4 store. Then you had to look inside of the add-ons, and within the add-ons, you had to look inside of. It was just a mess. It was just a mess. And with the big giant download they made you do, you would think they would have included it in there.
Yeah, it was the same thing for Steam. Like, even though you had the 8 gig July update with Ibuki and Balrog and all the premium costumes and the additional stages, you had the general story mode download, which you had to go inside of the game, go to the Capcom store, go to Special, which would open the Steam store. Then you had to click on the general story mode downloadable content, and then you had to checkbox it to make sure it download, which was
Exactly.
another 8 gigs. So yeah, that was
Yeah,
kind of a
exactly. Because
big.
I was like, wait a minute. That I just downloaded like 8 gigs, and I downloaded another 8 gigs. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah, because I had people hit me up like, "Yo, why isn't the story mode working?" And I was like, "Oh, this is what you got to do." Because I like got on there when it first launched at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "How is this?" And I literally had to go through some trial and error before I finally got it. And
Yeah, because I remember you were telling me you were going to do the premiere launch. You know what I mean? So I was just, going to go watch your stream and everything like that. And it was just so like the message boards were going insane. Twitter was in an uproar. Like the fighting game community, sure, at Yukin, they was like this. I mean, like they were complaining. People were livid about this
yeah,
because I mean, you like Capcom, you just got to start doing things right again. You're
yeah,
losing, you're losing your fan base. You're losing everything that your company was built on.
there was no reason to make downloading the story mode as complicated as it was.
Exactly.
And it should have been a part of the July download. I would have rather downloaded a 116 gig file because I have a pretty high internet bandwidth. I have 200 down and 50 up. So
Right,
16
right.
gig
So, oh
would
yeah, so yeah, you're rocking and rolling.
16 gig wouldn't have been like that big of a deal for me to
Yeah, for you,
download.
probably like what, 45 minutes, if that.
Not even that. Probably
Yeah,
about
like
like
no, you said
15.
200. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like what, 20 minutes.
20 minutes,
Yeah,
depending on how the Steam servers are going. But
right.
steering us back, you mentioned like games will have replay value. This story mode didn't. It offers
No,
no
not at all.
replay value
I will
whatsoever.
never do that story mode again. Never. And I did it for my fan base and for, like my customers and everything like that. But I will never. I don't think I will ever play that story mode again.
I
Never.
won't either. Like I've recorded it and I will be chopping it up and releasing it in parts because I already have the first part of the story mode released on my channel and it's like 45 minutes long. Overall, the story mode is about 2.5 hours long.
Right.
And so, but once you complete it, it's not like there's branching paths or anything, or that you get to go through it with your choice of character. Once you beat it, you beat it. There's no reason to go back and play
No,
it.
none at all. There's no replay value whatsoever. There's no like, I mean, like I said before, I mean, there were times when like Capcom games gave you so much. Do you remember Rival Schools?
I do. It's
Do
not one
you
of my
remember how
favorite games, but
every
I do
time you
remember
went in
it.
that game, you were opening up characters left and right? And
Yeah.
and of course they were palette swaps or may have been like, like different renditions of like the same character, but like the options were endless. Street Fighter Alpha 3, the Alpha series, especially Street Fighter Alpha 3, I think it was characters upon characters upon characters in that game to choose from. The story mode, actually the story mode was amazing in that one.
Yeah, it was.
The
It was
soundtrack
pretty
was
good.
phenomenal. It was it's just I'm very disappointed in Capcom.
Like now that the full game for what it's worth has been released outside of two characters, Jury and Urian, but you do get to use them on a limited basis in the story mode. You get to use Urian once and Jury about 3 times
Right.
during the story mode. Essentially, the game is done and completed. You'll see the next two characters come within the next couple of months, but now that we're here, essentially at the end of the release, what do you think? What do you give Capcom on this game? What's your score on it?
I would say out of a 10, I would give Capcom I would say like a 4.5.
Wow, 4.5.
4.5. The only reason why they got a 4.5 is because the gameplay mechanics are actually spot on and they're fair. But I mean, as far as everything else, their execution, their marketing, the way they released this game, it was just completely poor. It was very poor. It was horrible business tactics involved. It was just the worst. It is the worst I've ever seen. I
Eh,
mean, to me, I could like back in the day, we would have never have stood for anything like that. We actually would have thought it was a joke or something like that.
True that.
Because I mean, like I said, David, you and I, we're long term gamers. We've known each other for a very long time, and back it just wouldn't have flew. This no, you didn't release a game that was half ass or just fitting unfinished.
Yeah,
And then as it goes along, oh well, this will be better. Oh, we're adding this, and then again, and as you know what, come to think of it, as you were speaking, I thought about it. Like, yeah, they rushed this story mode out there when you really think about it.
yeah, because people were clamoring for it. Like, where's the story mode? Where's the arcade mode? Where's this mode? Where's that mode? And I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to be like Killer Instinct, but the vast difference between what Killer Instinct did and Microsoft and what Capcom did with Street Fighter V is that Killer Instinct and Microsoft set the expectation. Like
Right.
they're like, okay, we're gonna release this game in seasons, and then this season, this is what we will give you, and this is the time frame in which in this season that we're gonna give it to you in. They set the expectation, and people were not mad at them because they knew what was coming down the pipe and when it was coming. The expectation was set and it was lived up to. Like characters were not late, characters were not unfinished. And like usually at the end of each season, the arcade story mode for that specific season was released and that was the expectation and that was what was given. And
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just I mean, like really to be honest, my thoughts of Capcom as of recent, they might as well just go third party or just like just sell off their stuff to somebody that's really going to do something with it because this is they don't know what to do anymore. I don't think they not that they don't know what to do. They don't care.
it's not that they don't care. I just don't think they have the leadership or the structure that is required. And I agree with you. I think someone needs to come in that knows how to run a tight ship and buy Capcom and force these people under some kind of structure, put some kind of deadlines on them. Like, look, this game has to be completed in this amount of time, and this has to happen for this game to be considered complete. We're not going to rush it, but this is the expectation that we want to set, and this is the expectation that we're going to live up to.
I just don't understand. To me, it's equivalent to seeing like your favorite hero or a buddy that you grew up with that was very, very influential, very promising to just turn out to be a loser or a drunk or like a fucking junkie or something like that. It was just, and I tell like my nephews and my nieces and stuff like that, like stories of how like Capcom was and this, that, and the other, because they try to get into fighting games and, like the Capcom universe, they like it, but there's nothing there tangible for them to like grasp onto. There's nothing iconic about it anymore.
I wouldn't call Capcom like someone who went on to become a drunk. I would call Capcom like someone who was at the top of their game for a long, long period of time, and rather than slowly decline, the bottom just fell out.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, like, David Aaron, do you remember like the like what in when you heard the name Capcom or you heard that little logo go or whatever that sound it was, you just was like, I don't know, it was just a certain feeling that came over you, like I'm about to have some fun.
Exactly, I agree, and like with your score and your take on the game, I'm gonna have to go a little bit higher than a 4.5. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah,
Real talk. And 5
I'm
out of
still
10
sticking with
is
my 4.5. I just couldn't really, to be honest. I purchased that game to really see that. I wanted to see it for myself that they really didn't include a story mode, and again, the interface is so convoluted and confusing to where like the average player, even which is like myself, I didn't even know where to go to first just to
yeah.
like get into a battle.
There's too many submenus and rigmarole that you have to go through in order to get to things that used to be simple. Like hell, like when you do a straight up online battle, if you do a ranked match, you can't select your character. You have to pre-select your character from an options menu, and
Yeah,
people
that's
like
horrible.
people
That's
like,
horrible.
oh, that saves time. I'm like, dude, I don't want to play Ken all the time. I love playing Ken, but
Right.
Ken's not the only character that I play. Like some days I may want to play Laura, or some days I may want to play Nash, or I might go through a session where I may want to play all three, and I don't want to have to back out of menus and go into sub menus just to change my character, then go
Exactly.
back into rank mode. It's ridiculous.
I just can't. I don't know. Like you said, Capcom needs some help, and not only that, they need to do something fast. They're losing loyal fans. Like the fighting game community, they're not. I mean, like some of the major players, like what's his name? I forgot his name.
Like,
Uh,
yeah, you do see a lot of major players out there like voicing their displeasure about Capcom. While not directly, they do it in kind of like a side snide way. Like
yeah, exactly.
there was an episode of Mike Ross and Gutek's Excellent Adventures, the most recent one with K Brad, and they do like ranked matches, and they had to wait so long for a ranked match on a 20-minute show that Gutex actually went into Battle Lounge and set up a Battle Lounge just so they can get some matches in. That should not happen.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
And the thing is, like Mike Ross is like kind of a unofficial spokesperson for Capcom because he has the Capcom Pro Talk show, and just once, I wish when he has Combo Fiend Peter Rosas on the show, I want him to hold his feet to the fire a little bit and call him out on the problems. For real.
Yeah, but you get a lot of them. They're scared to say anything to these. They're scared to say anything to them. They won't say anything.
Yeah, but getting back to my score, 5, it's essentially for the same reason that you gave it a 4.5. I just decided to give it a 5 because I hold the gameplay in a little bit higher regard than you do.
I
But
just got to get used to it because, like I said, I had only had the game for like what 2 weeks, a week, and I played a few matches of it. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm
Right.
getting the hang of it, but it's much slower than way slower than Street Fighter 4.
I appreciate that it's slower than Street Fighter 4. It takes it back to like the Super Turbo days and the Alpha
Right.
days. So I
But I'm getting the
appreciate
hang. Like
that.
now that I'm slowing down my movements, I know it, and I can understand like what they were trying to do, but they should have like incorporated like the classic aesthetics or like the original, like the original format that Street Fighter is known for in terms of like the story mode, this mode, that mode, hidden characters, so on and so forth. Instead of just giving us this half-ass game,
I
it's just wrong.
I 100% agree. And Capcom, you fucked up. You fucked up. There's really nothing you can do to change this game other than a complete overhaul and redesign of the user interface, complete overhaul of the reward system. Because I understand what you were trying to do with the fight money system, but the way you go about getting fight money is so convoluted. Like once you do the story mode and once you do the survival mode, you can't get fight money from those modes ever again.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so you are literally forced to go online to grind out fight money, and you get so little of it that you literally have to play
Exactly. Like I
hundreds and
think one
hundreds of
time I
matches.
think one time I played like I said like 20 matches and I only got like seemed like what it seemed like $1 or something like that. It's already worth.
Yeah, and it's like you force people to become online warriors who have no intent of being that dedicated to the game. They just want to get on and play the game, you know?
Right.
So Capcom, I know a lot of people have a lot of love for Yoshinari Ono, the producer of the game, but this latest effort, subpar, very subpar.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean like this I don't know. I don't know.
Like
And
I,
I feel like some of the like, on final note, I feel like some of the graphics on this game they're very detailed as far as the cinematic aspect, but it's also very exaggerated. Like I mean, like certain features and everything, even the size of their feet, it's like they got plates on the bottom, like for feet
dude,
or something.
everybody's walking around with waffle stompers and
Yeah,
rocking size 15.
yeah. 'Cause they showed Jury's feet. I was like, my goodness.
For
And
real.
like cinematic, I was like, what is she? What?
Does Ono have a thing for feet? I
I don't
don't know.
know.
But
I
on
don't
that
know.
note, man, we about to wrap it up. You got anything to say before we dip on that here?
Yeah, Mighty Number Nine was not that bad. It wasn't that wonderful, but it wasn't that bad.
So we should be calling it the not so bad number 9.
Exactly. But we'll say that for another show. That's if you invite me on.
Oh, definitely. You're always welcome on the free play mode quick hit. And with
Oh,
that, we are getting
yeah.
out of here. Dene, I hope you have a good evening. And people out there listening to the show, I hope you have a good evening too. This is Dave signing off. Peace, folks. We're out.
All right.